appreciate it.
No problem. Glad that I can help.
Well, let's go ahead and begin. What made you decide to become a wrestler? How did it all start off for you?
Well, to be honest, I used to think wrestling was the stupidest thing on the planet. My husband was actually more interested than me. So he went to a wrestling training and was telling me all about it. So I went to go check it out, and I knew some of the guys that trained there from school, and we had mutual friends, things like that. And they were talking to me about it the week after that, because I still thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And they were telling me about, it's hard, and girls are generally terrible anyway, so they're not wasting my time, and there's no way I could do it. So I basically got into wrestling on a triple dog dare.
Wow.
And yeah, funny thing is most of them aren't really around anymore, and I'm still here. Sucks to be them.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up for them, of course. So, was there anything in particular that made you change your mind that you ended up being into the sport that you once hated? Was it like the character? Was it like the competitiveness? Was there anything particular that made you change your mind about wrestling?
Uh, okay, I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like, I played sports all through high school. I was a gymnast, and and a cheerleader, and I didn't mind being in front of people, and I done plays and things like that. So, being in front of people and putting on a show never bothered me to some degree. But nothing felt like what it felt like to stand behind the curtain. Like the first time I went out there, I felt like that every time. And like, there's nothing I can find for it. It's that adrenaline rush, that 2 seconds before I go out there where I forget what I'm supposed to do or say or act, and it's crazy, and then everything's fine with the world. It's that feeling that I can't describe in another word, but I'm actually alive, not just going about the business. It's not just the physicality is great. I mean, it's fine, and the characters, well, not much of a character, but it can be. But it's the rush.
It's definitely the rush. It's that, like you said, it's the adrenaline that just, and it's very satisfying that, like any other sport, you go out there, you perform, you entertain, and regardless of what a audience is gonna cheer or boo, I mean, you have a
It's me
job.
they're gonna boo.
Yeah. You still have to perform, and I've always tell wrestlers this on the show. I don't think you guys and girls get enough credit as far as athletes, as at the athleticism that it takes to perform the moves that y'all do, and telling a story while you are in the ring performing, and just, I think the storytelling side of it is probably the most underrated thing about wrestling in general. But the athleticism to me stands out to me because y'all do things that athletes out there wish they can do. I mean, when if you put your hand on somebody on some other sport, you're gonna be punished. You're gonna be fined. You're gonna be suspended. Hell, you may be kicked out of a league for that, for the moves that y'all do for a living, and y'all get to do it and just let it hang out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, most of it is there's not a lot of good storytellers anymore. And then, of course, if you got a problem with somebody, you're almost encouraged to hit them at some point, which is always nice. But we try.
And
But
I
when it gets exposed on the internet and everybody thinks they know everything about professional wrestling, and you don't. Out of everything that's exposed about the wrestling business that's out there, people maybe know, maybe I'll say a sixth of what there is to wrestling.
absolutely. So, Cameron, do you remember your first ever wrestling match that you ever had? And if so, who was your opponent or opponents? And what company did you work for?
I worked. It's actually the place that I trained. I'd been training about 2 months, and it was decided I was going to quit in a match. I had actually wrestled one of my trainers. He was doing this little gimmick where he was a nerdy little manager, and he was a heel, and he was a pain in the butt. So we decided, I didn't have a lot of legitimate wrestling, so we would. It was booked as a boxing match. He was under the name Spanky, and I was the alter cheerleader ego, Allie Spirit with my bright blonde hair and a super dark tan, and went out there with boxing gloves. And one of the best things, they loaded up his glove with pennies, and I found it out. And we're going around, and he tells me to swing at him in this match. And I was like, but I don't know how. He goes, well, just swing then. So I almost knocked him out because I punched him for real. And there was some wrestling in it later. And at the end, I was supposed to get misted by this girl who was, I'm going to put the air quotes around training, and it just more felt like I dribbled water on my face. So they didn't go so well. But, just being out there and, being character and watching my trainer make an ass of himself and about get knocked out. It's probably, the most fun ever. I was like, I want to do it again. Can I go again?
Wow, so your actual first time that you stepped in the ring in front of a live audience turned out to be a boxing match. There
was some wrestling. There was some suplexes and body slams later.
Yeah. Okay. And how did you feel about that before that match took place? What was your mindset? How did you feel about it? And how do you feel about it now that it all took place, and considering how far you have come in your career?
I think I've come a long way from being some other blonde in this little bitty company in a little itty bitty town in Indiana that nobody ever heard of, to the stuff I can do now. And I've wrestled and been around world class athletes. I mean, when I was getting ready for it, the thing I was the most concerned with is I didn't want to disappoint my trainer. Plus, he's going to be out there, and I was like, oh God, if I screw up, he's going to tear me a new asshole on Sunday at training, and I don't want to hear it. So I didn't want to disappoint him. And I wanted the crowd to like me, and I got kind of a mixed reaction. I'd been introduced a month before, and half of them cheered me, half of them booed me, and the ones that booed me were the other wrestlers' wives and girlfriends, of course. And, they're kind of telling me that what the girl... Misty Patriot, AFC South decline rant.
Oh, God. This is, we had such a conversation during the technical difficulties, and I feel like a knucklehead that I didn't press the record button sooner, as now this part of the interview is now pre-recorded. The first 8 minutes you heard was live, and now you get to hear the second half, all wrapped into one. We was talking about the Super Bowl and talk about and this lady knows her football. I will say that. If you're not a wrestler, you definitely have a good future in broadcasting, or at least being the anchor or whatever. You have a good future. I will say that for a fact, Miss Starr.
I could be the Charles Barkley of football. Yeah, it's terrible. Peyton Manning's not going to come out of the locker room at halftime. He's in Denver now. Shut up.
Oh,
terrible.
Oh, man, that just reminds me of the Frank Caliendo, his impressions of him.
Caliendo's fantastic.
I can listen to Caliendo all day. He's just phenomenal. And his Gruden and Dr. Phil.
His Madden one's the best one.
I
die every time.
John Madden. You put a football over you. You put a football over there. Boom. That's just Hysterical.
See?
But not to get too far off track here. We was talking
But I
some.
digress.
Yeah, but I digress. I want to ask you this. Who are some of your favorite people that you want to work with over the course of your career? That may be a difficult answer to ask, but at least a few that stood out to you that you feel made an impact of your career.
Made an impact. I think Nikki Knuckles made a really great impact on my career. I actually got to wrestle her after her femur was broken and she was coming back from injury. And I mean, she did it. For those of you who don't know Mickey, I'm going to let a big secret. Girl's a sweetheart. Nicest person I've ever met in my life. And Mickey taught me a lot about being more vocal and just being myself out there and not putting on the brakes and always pushing on the gas. Like she's one that I've really learned a lot from because I thought that we had a lot in common. I think she's a little bit more the other end of what I was interested in doing. And there's always a lot to be said for being in the ring with somebody who's in a different level than you. If they're higher up or perceived to be on a higher level, it makes you work harder because you have to come up to that. Because you don't want to be outshined or forgotten like, oh yeah, I saw Mickey and the other girl was. Oh. She's probably the most notable person that I really did a lot with that I got to work with. Mostly now I work with a lot of younger girls or girls that are pretty well established, but not necessarily huge names. I've met a lot of really nice people and bigger names over the years, but Nikki stands out the most.
I love the heck out of Mickey Knuckles, and I will concur. She is a sweetheart. Do not
give you the shirt off her back.
Do not let her persona in the ring fool you. Okay, she is tough as nails, but inside that toughness is a good-hearted person.
Yep.
And she's just remarkable. And that being said, you mentioned the people that you have worked with. Who are some of the people that you haven't had a chance to work with but would like to one day?
See. That's a hard one. A lot of people now are leaving the business or getting out of reach before I ever got to them. Like, I wish I would have had the chance to be in a ring with Sarah Del Rey before she became a trainer for WWE, because I think that would have been really amazing. I think I'd like to wrestle Leva Bates just because I'd like to see the costume. And that's really strange. But I am also kind of a nerd, and cosplay is cute to me. And I think she's a phenomenal wrestler besides all the character that she brings. Madison Eagle, who's fantastic. I like her. Portia Perez, who I've met but never got to wrestle.
Those are some awesome choices. Sarah Del Rey definitely. I as for selfish reasons, and I understand she's training the NXT females, and she's done a very good job. I mean, just to see the likes of Charlotte and Sasha Banks and Bayley, formerly known as Davina Wells. I've interviewed her in the past.
Let's not underrate Rebecca Knox either, because that girl was a beast. And got injured and came back and still just as good as she ever was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For selfish reasons, I want to see her wrestle, but I guess she's pretty much done all she can do at this point. And now she wants to be a mentor.
She doesn't have to get in the ring and be on shows and risk injury as she gets older, but she still gets to do wrestling for a living and earn a really good living and live in Tampa. Darn, that's hard.
Yes, that too. You get
she's living the dream. She gets to work for the company that everybody wants to work for, so to speak, behind the scenes. And you get to see women's wrestling on NXT elevated more than just the fluff stuff. Let me just add the anger that I felt over that forearm from Nikki Bella at Royal Rumble. I'm like, hey, one, that's my stuff. Two, it wasn't that powerful. Three, I have legitimately knocked people goofy with mine. Pissed me off. I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad to see some legitimate strike happening. I just wasn't as pleased with that. But like you see the NXT product, it's totally different. Like I watch it. I'll say this, while I am impressed with what Charlotte is able to do, I don't think she's at the level that she needs to be at. I know that'll probably get me some heat, but she's still young and she does things and it shows, and some of her things aren't as crisp as they could be, but she's Charlotte. She's actually Flair. Let's not get excited.
Gotcha. I definitely feel she's come a long way, and there's still
she's a long way from the fitness model.
Yeah. It's a lot more to improve. And speaking of which, you probably watched the Royal Rumble. I know I did, and there's just been a backlash towards Mr. Roman Reigns, and I do want to point out, for selfish reasons, I picked he was going to win the Royal Rumble, and I'm happy that he did, but it feels like he is getting the Batista treatment right now. And I guess that's basically because Daniel Bryan didn't win, or Dolph Ziggler didn't win, and things like that.
Okay.
I mean,
let's think about this in a real sense.
Okay.
They did Royal Rumble in Philly. Philadelphia is a wrestling town. A lot of very smart wrestling fans in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So they're typically more for, who they like and all the cool stuff and all the catering to the internet darlings. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I get it. But really, what they don't understand from the business side, do people like Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan, do they need title shots or to be in a title picture to get over? No, they don't. You know why? They didn't win the Rumble, but you're still talking about them from the Rumble.
That is
Why
true.
do they need anything?
And
they're still going to sell merch.
I completely agree. I mean, it's like you said, it's Philly. It's a tough crowd. And, I mean, anybody not named Bryan and Ziggler was going to get booed anyway. I mean, we're talking about the same city who booed Santa Claus, okay? So
exactly. Well, it's like the same thing. Yeah. What happened last year? They wanted Reigns to win and got put over.
Yeah.
I think kind of what happened though is from how they put it together is you knew he was going to win going into it. You knew that was going to happen. Like every bit of packaging I saw for it, I was like, Roman Reigns is going over. And I knew that Roman Reigns was going to go win Rumble and be in the main WrestleMania since, I don't know, November. I mean, when you start to look at how they've packaged him, he's fairly unstoppable, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can take down anybody. So then you have someone like Lesnar who eats people for breakfast, like legitimately people, body parts and all.
Yeah.
Who are you going to put against, or even anywhere near somebody, and it's not another monster who's unstoppable? Duh.
And the fact that he's a lot younger than Lesnar, so he's
less injury prone.
Yeah, and the fact that The Rock was there to celebrate that moment with him.
That was dumb. That was insulting to Philadelphia. That made it even worse.
Yeah.
Philly hates The Rock.
No.
Hates it.
Yeah, The Rock got too.
It's the same thing. He's not a good wrestler. He's a great character.
Mm.
He did his 10 moves of doom, like every big name star in the E's ever done. Cough, John Cena, cough. Not really well, but the character was well received. Ta-da. Like, for example, when he was Rocky Maivia, everybody really hated him, and he was stupid. But when he became The Rock and became this goofy, quick, on the mic guy, people were all about that. And it worked because it fit well with the era. I give you John Cena, who became this white version of The Rock. Would John Cena be the star that he is now if they would have made him the prototype John Cena? The answer is no, because they tried the prototype and it bombed.
Pretty much.
And furthermore, if you want to talk about wrestling, Triple H said he had the worst match of his career against John Cena. And he's like, the thing I respect about him is I told him it was crap, and he sat there and he took it. I'm like, yay, somebody thinks Cena sucks. Thank you. But it's, you have people like John Cena and The Rock who are put over because they sell the merch. And, they become the big star and they earn the money. So you send somebody that wrestling and smart marks hate out to the ring with a guy they're already mad at because they knew he was going to win because of some political game. Oh, yeah. Why don't you just give that guy a shovel so he can bury himself? Christ. I feel bad for him because, here's a guy that could probably win the title at WrestleMania and has to deal with the Batista-esque backlash from it, which is totally shitty. That's going to be the biggest thing in this guy's career.
Oh, yeah.
And fans are going to shit all over it.
Pretty much. Wrestling fans are as hardcore as it gets. They really root for people that they truly believe in. And all I know is the world of WrestleMania, it's got people talking. That's what WWE wants. And we're talking about it, obviously. And it's going to be an interesting 2 months.
Even if you say cancel the network or whatever, or say I'm not watching this, even if you're bitching about it, you're talking about it, which puts even negative press is press.
Yes, it is.
But what fans don't understand is what sucks is they're making a business decision based on what's best for the company, what direction they want to go, whatever. And you see in the indies, though, I think it's more prevalent with the politicking. It's like when you don't have somebody like John Cena in the driver's seat, or even Daniel Bryan in the driver's seat. Who do you put in the driver's seat? You can't have Brock stay there. He's hurt all the time. So you pick this young kid who's got a great look to him, who's doing nothing but work hard, and now you got to worry that the fans are going to shit all over him. You either go all in or you don't. Well, but, showing up and doing your job and kicking ass and doing what you're supposed to do in the big leagues is politicking in the indies. If you're the company guy, you have to show that you can be the company guy. It's not typically how it should work, on the indie level, is if you're doing all the promotion, you're helping, hey, I'm going to come fly, or hey, I'll do your pre-sales, or hey, let me do whatever I can. I know I'm not booked, but let me help you out. People like that are the people who should be getting the big stuff. What they're pushing a Roman Reigns type person into is people that'll be like, I'm going to show up to the show earlier than I should, and I'm going to pull the promoters off to the side, and we're going to sit and have a chat, and that's how I'm going to get over, because I'm going to talk to them and pretend to be their friend. That's what the internet is accusing Roman Reigns of doing, is talking his way into a title run, which I don't think is the case at all, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks, because it doesn't matter if he's legitimate talent or not. The internet can destroy him in a matter of months, and they might.
True, absolutely true. Before I let you go, Ms. Starr, I got 2 more questions for you. This next question is, why don't you go ahead and promote your up-and-coming shows, what you have coming up, upcoming appearances that you have for the fans to check out?
Okay, I will be at Insanity Pro Wrestling in Marion, Indiana, ICW on February 7th, I'm in a women's tag match. It is, I know I'm the bad guy, but it ought to be good. Not been a tag match there before. Kind of a continuation of a feud with me and Celine Gray. She's okay. And then February 21st, I will be back in Terre Haute, Indiana for New Wave Pro. Who knows what I'll be doing? I'm sure I'll be escorting Brian Claps and Matt Jones to the ring. Maybe see me in action there. And then you can see me again on March 7th. Again, ICW in Marianne. Who knows what will happen after this tag match? I'm excited to see. And March 21st, Resistance Pro. We'll be back with all the colors of the dark. Check out resistancepro.com for all your information for that. And then March 28th, I'll be in Kokomo, Indiana for AACW. I will share the details on who I'm with and what yet, but I know Celine will probably follow me there too. She's been circling me for a while now. I think that's what's up and coming soon. There's also my fan page on Facebook, Natural Talent Camron Star. You can check me out there. I try to be good with the updates. I'm getting used to it. I tend to rant or ramble or put up pretty pictures, so come check that out. I'm also on Instagram, Camron_star. And I am also on Twitter at GlamEmoPrincess. I think that's all my social media. Yes.
Oh, well, you pretty much answered my last question, so I don't even need
social
to
media.
You. So, Glam Emo Princess, that's your Twitter account. Instagram at Camron_star. And you can check her out on Facebook under the name The Natural Talent Camron Star, which, by the way, a fan made specifically for you. So go check out all the pages, and she will approve you, and you can learn more of her up-and-coming matches and appearances. And Camron, it was awesome chatting with you, and to this day, I regret not clicking the record button after we went off the air, and we was talking football behind the scenes, but nonetheless, it was
that's
great.
That's extra.
Yeah, that's the stuff that you're never gonna hear. Unfortunately, for all those that just wasn't able to hear it. But I gotta have you back on the show again, and I would love to have you back on the anniversary show, which is coming up this April, so we can continue this saga, this conversation.
Yes.
And we definitely can talk about WrestleMania too. Just
hit me up.
All right,
I'll complete you in.
All right, well, thank you again for being on the show. I truly appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome.
All right, and you have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was the Natural Talent, Camron Star, joining me, and thank you for listening, everybody. Triple Threat Wrestling Radio is live, hopefully next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, with no technical difficulties in the way. And we'll see you next week. Have a great Super Bowl weekend, everybody.